Now I would like to introduce Dr. Kirk Larsen, who will give us the opening remarks. Dr. Kirk Larsen is Associate Professor of History and Director of Academic Programs and Research at David Kennedy Center for International Studies at BYU. Dr. Larsen previously taught at the University of Texas and George Washington University. At GW, he served as a director of the International Affairs Program. He has published, presented, and commented on a variety of contemporary issues, including North Korea, nationalism, and elections in South Korea and Sino-Korean relations, and has appeared on ABC, MSNBC, and VOA. Dr. Larsen received a BA in Asian Studies from BYU and an AM in Regional Studies, East Asia, and a PhD in History from Harvard University. So welcome, Dr. Larsen.
Would you like the podium or mic?
Good morning. It is my pleasure on behalf of the David M. Kennedy Center for International Studies, one of the sponsors of this conference, to welcome you here and to thank you for braving the elements and coming in to learn about a topic that we all recognize is really important. I think it's safe and fair to say that China matters in the world today in a way more than perhaps it has ever mattered, at least in recent history. Now, as a historian, I can attest to the fact that China has always mattered, and perhaps mattered a lot more than many in the West have recognized. But there has been a fairly long period of recent history, beginning with the so-called era of humiliation, with the Opium War of 1839 all the way through to the establishment of the PRC in 1949, followed by an era of Cold War competition between the United States-led Western Bloc and the Soviet-led Eastern Bloc, followed by the post-Cold War era of sort of American unipolar dominance, in which the assumption was that the West set the agenda, that the West's values were universal, and that others needed to get with the program. But I think increasingly we see in China today a significant challenge to those notions. And that's visible in any number of arenas and areas. China's increasing geopolitical strength and confidence, as exhibited in various maritime territorial disputes in the South China Sea and elsewhere. You look at the fact that by some indices, China's economy became the largest in the world last year. Now, since China's population is also largest, it's not too surprising. Any economy that's reasonably efficient and productive should be the largest in the world. But still, this hasn't happened before. You look at areas of overseas and global investments in sectors like energy and infrastructure, and increasingly China is an important player in particular regions of the world like Central Asia and Africa. You look at the technology sector and the dominance of sort of Western models. Google and Amazon are certainly finding worthy competitors and challengers in the form of Baidu and Alibaba. And you look at the arena of values, where Xi Jinping's rhetoric and campaign about the importance of Chinese values to some of us sort of resurrect the Asian values debates that we had in the 80s and 90s about whether Western norms of human rights and such are universal or whether they're culturally bound and conditioned. Whatever the case, it's clear that China matters in the world in ways that are unique and new and different and definitely worthy of our attention and our consideration. And how this will play out, of course, is anyone's guess. We could be in a transition period away from one of sort of unipolar American dominance to be replaced by one of unipolar Chinese dominance. We could be moving into an era of multipolar pluralism, where we have different systems and different values being evident in the world, and that we learn to sort of deal and recognize that differences don't always mean conflict and that we can peacefully coexist. Or we could be in an era of increasing sort of conflict and competition between different ones. But whatever the near-term future brings, without an understanding of China, there's no way we can understand what the future will hold. And so I'm glad that you all are here, ready to learn and listen from a variety of world-class experts on China from a variety of topics and disciplines, and hope that as we learn and discuss together that we can move forward in a way that China really matters. And so again, welcome, and I'm glad you're here, and really look forward to this conference. Thank you.